Welcome to another episode of Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today is the part 2 of last week where we talked about rebuilding yourself after years of rejection. Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Hello. So, as I was saying, we're going to talk about 3 things today. I'm going to give 3 ways you can actually, 3 steps, if you like, as to how you can restart your life and rebuild yourself after being rejected either by anything or having faced many rejections over the past years. And this is specifically, it will help all of these people who has let rejection rule their life so far. So I'm really excited about this episode today. How are you anyway?
Yeah, I'm all right. I wasn't very well last time
I
when we
know.
recorded, but I'm
I was
all
going to
right
say,
again
you
now.
look like death warmed up, but the last bit is not even true.
No, I wasn't even warmed up
It
last
wasn't
week.
even
Goodness.
warmed up. Oh, I'm glad
But
to see
here
you
we are.
back.
Thank you. Yes, it's me again.
almost back to normal. You're still a bit pale, but you know.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, yeah. I put the old almond oil on this morning, so that's probably why.
Perhaps. I guess it takes a bit of time to get your energy back. And in fact, isn't it such a great metaphor for the thing that we're going to talk about today? You know, if you've had a long period of, low energy, dehydration, or not quite feeling like yourself,
Yeah.
and it is always harder to get back, and it takes a bit of time to bring it back to how you normally are, right? How you should be, if you like.
I think so. Yes, it's not one of those instant sort of switch on and switch off things. It's a bit gradual. So yeah, I'm feeling kind of back to normal. I haven't been for a run in the last sort of week or two, so I need to get back into that really. But yeah, it's only we're talking today. I mean, last week it was a great topic to open up on, wasn't it? About rejection and the impact on it, because that probably does affect more people than you think, and there probably is even people sitting here listening, watching this today thinking, well, actually that probably doesn't apply to me. I don't think this is really going to help me much, because I don't think I'm suffering the impacts. Maybe you might be surprised when we start talking to hear. And I think probably today there are going to be people thinking that, and I'm probably thinking that myself at this stage, but by the time we're 10, 15 minutes in, I think I'm going to be resonating with stuff. So I'm sure the
brace yourself for it.
It's exciting.
It is. Well, just to recap on last week, we've talked about, how rejection actually in our life every single day from the age of 2, our parents start to say no to everything that we ask to do, because at that age, obviously, we are very exploratory. We like to try new things. We want to push the boundaries just to test what we are capable of at that very tender age. And our parents, obviously having the years of wisdom and experience, they say no, because you can't put your hand in the fire because it's going to burn. But then of course you test the boundary, you put your hand in the fire, and then you just like, oh, actually it does hurt, I'm not going to do that again. But then other occasions you might subconsciously, not knowing, not having the experience, start to believe that there is some form of rejection. But then of course, as you get more into the world, you are going to get some rejection. Maybe you're going to be rejected by some friends and some again by your parents. I know some people who have had this experience, and it is, I guess, very traumatic, and it's hard for me to speak about it because I haven't experienced in that specific context. Right. But I have talked about the experience I had when I was rejected to go start school at not quite 7, because in those times we were starting school at the age of 7. So I was like 6 3/4, and I was rejected to start school. And I could have taken that as a bad thing. And at the time I probably did. And I cried a bit. But for some reason, I made the decision that I wasn't going to let that stop me achieving or doing what I wanted to do in the world. And even at that tender age, I wanted to be successful. I wanted to learn things. I wanted to be able to learn to read, write, and do great things in the world. And that's when I decided that this is my time. I'm going to do this when I do start school. But over the years, I realized that that kind of could have been to my detriment in some ways, because I was then working harder, longer, faster, just to be at the top all the time. And there's that sort of wanting to prove yourself, wanting to be the best and so forth. So that I realized 6 months ago or so, or maybe almost a year ago. And now I can work with that. I can work with the fact that, you know, rejection wasn't a good thing, but it wasn't even actually about me. It was the right time. Perhaps that rejection meant that I was able to, yes, spend more time with my mom and so forth. So that was last week. And this week, though, whatever the rejection you might have experienced in your life, what I want to talk about is the 3 things you can do from today, from now, to start to rebuild your life. Because, you know, you can choose to continue to live with that rejection and not put yourself out there, not do anything that you want to do in life because you're going to be rejected, because you're afraid you're going to be rejected. Or you could just make peace with it and get on with the rest of your life without that attachment to what comes up with rejection. Make sense?
So that suggests that you know, it's a bit of a default. You just said, you know, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z in case I get rejected, as though that's the default position.
That's right, exactly, because that's the experience. Your brain recalls the experiences, and because its job is to protect you, and because you felt unsafe at the time, it's going to want to bring you back to the safety. Safety means you don't get rejected. You don't get rejected means you don't get to put yourself out there. And it's just such a subtle background programming that we, you know, comply to. It even sounds silly now for some of the smallest things. Because of that fear, we don't even do the smallest things sometimes.
So basically, we're in a bad place, but there is hope. There is stuff we can do about it. And that's what we're going to explore.
There is always hope, for sure.
Of course, of course.
But of course, we're not the kind of people who would be just hoping and waiting for things to happen.
Sure.
We'll take charge, because we are the creators of our own destiny. We get to choose what happens from now on. Perhaps in the past you didn't have the choice about being rejected or whatever, but now you have the choice. First of all, you have the choice to how to react to what other people do to you. And as we said, what other people do to you has really nothing to do with you, mostly. It's their own inner reflection to your situation. And the second thing is that, you know, you can just say, perhaps it was for my greater good at the time.
Yes.
You know, there's always that, you know, we've said this before, things are not happening to you, things are happening for you. So even the bad experiences, even the things that we may not like happening right now or in the past, was happening for us, for our own growth, for our own evolvement in a way. Does that make sense?
So that's, yeah. So I mean, that's good news. We're sort of able to choose. I mean, it's always great to be able to choose, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, people say, "Oh, I have no choice." You know, I've got no to know that we've got a choice is a big step forward.
We always have a choice.
That makes sense.
We always have a choice, and even choosing not to do anything about it is a choice in itself, isn't it?
Yes.
You know,
There's no escape.
I don't mean to be critical about it, but it is just the truth, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It
absolutely.
Is how it is. So the 3 steps, before I go ahead and put those 3 steps out there, I want to make sure that everyone who's now watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel to make sure that this reaches more people, and you also get notified for all these videos that we put out every Thursday. And I also have Tuesday videos that I put out. It's going to help you. It is for your own, you know, growth and evolvement, and this is what we're doing this for. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And now I'm going to tell you those 3 steps to take. So
great, here we go.
First of all is kind of alluded to it a minute ago, is about forgiveness.
Okay.
And forgiveness of the past.
Yeah.
Forgiveness of the people who have rejected you for whatever reason. and forgiveness of yourself because of the reactions that you've you've had to that situation. Sometimes we said it in the previous episodes, no is a complete sentence. When somebody says no to you or no to a situation, what it also means, we live in the world of duality. They're also saying yes to something else. And in that case, if they were saying no to you or to that situation, perhaps they had to say yes to something else at that time, and it wasn't for your own good. And the situation, if they said yes, it wouldn't be for your good, and perhaps that rejection was happening for you. So when you reframe it like this in your mind, you can actually think, well, you know what, I'm actually grateful that didn't happen. And then there is many years ago, before I came to the UK to do my PhD and stuff, the first place I was going to go to Holland. And I'd prepared everything, and Holland isn't too far away from Turkey. It's going to be great and whatever. And then when I received the letter, you're actually going to the UK. It's like, what? And I cried all day, and I felt rejected. I felt awful. I just like, why is this happening? And it's just like, whatever the thoughts going through my head. And 28 years down the line, I met my husband. Well, 2 years down the line, I met my husband, and now we're here doing this. And it was for my greater good at the time, even though it didn't feel like it. It felt like rejection. It felt not very good at that point. So, and of course, it took me a while to appreciate that. But now you are in this place where you want to rebuild yourself, but you're still feeling like you're stuck at that past event. Just think about it. What could have been the good that came out of that for you?
So it's forgiveness, which is a hard topic in itself. And it's letting go of the negative and trying to just reframe the thought in your mind. Actually, that was probably for my greater good. That's probably helped in some way. I might not even be able to quite grasp how that's helped now today, even, but I must trust that it was for my good, rather than just something bad that happened.
Exactly. And it's just it's funny also. I wanted to mention this earlier. When somebody rejects us, it's never really it's about us. And one of my coaches, I'm working with a coach right now, and she gave this great example. If you made a chocolate cake, and it's your favorite cake, you love it, you've spent so much time and effort in cooking it and decorating it, and one of your friends came and you offered them a chocolate cake, and they said, no, I'm on a diet, I don't want a chocolate cake right now. How would you feel? Would you feel like, oh my gosh, she's rejecting me, what have I ever done to her? Why does she, you don't get into any of that, do you? You just say, well, okay, she doesn't want it, my gain, I have more. Right?
That's right. Yes. You're not going to get too upset about the chocolate cake, really. Yeah.
But it's about when we offer things, when we ask for things, and people reject it for many different reasons, and more often than not, it has nothing to do with us. The reason why they reject is nothing to do with us. And you don't try and convince that person that you're a good person because I made this cake or anything like that, do you? So
that's right. No, it just doesn't. That whole level of emotion and discussion doesn't come into it. It's a bit of cake. Do you want a bit of cake or not?
Yeah,
Here's a cup of tea to go with it. It's simple. Yeah,
it's simple.
It's not a big deal.
But we overcomplicate things in our heads, and it becomes a big thing. And perhaps I'm not saying that rejection was a small thing in the past, but it is in the past now. Past doesn't exist anymore.
I think that's a good point. I think we're not saying that it doesn't matter. It didn't matter that person upset us and rejected us and stopped us from doing what we wanted to be doing. But yes, it's not it doesn't matter, it's all right, it's just a bit of chocolate cake. It's not that. It does matter, but we need to let go and forgive and reframe, as we were talking, and move on, isn't it?
Yeah, it mattered at the time, but it doesn't have to matter anymore because it's in the past. And it will matter more if you continue to let it rule your life for the rest of your life.
Makes perfect sense.
So just to summarize, point number 1, forgiveness of the past, forgiveness of the person, and forgiveness of yourself for holding on to this all this time.
Oh yes,
because we don't often forgive ourselves for the reactions that we've given to different situations, and we judge ourselves more than we judge others, and we just kind of hold on to that, and why am I'm such a bad person, and why did I do this, and it's just, that's not helping you.
I look back sometimes at some of the areas where I've had this kind of rejectional confrontation, if you like, or these battles, and I often think, well, this is what I should have done. This is what I should have done. But I just put that down to, okay, well, I've learned, and should I ever encounter that position again, then this is what I will do.
Yes.
I've learned from the situation. I didn't handle it the best, but I forgive myself. I'll allow myself to learn and to adapt and adopt and just do it better next time.
Yeah. I mean, if you keep repeating the same mistakes and same sort of things are happening, that's a different conversation entirely.
It
but
is, yes.
It's for the first time, if you experience that and that was your reaction, then that it was your reaction. There's nothing
That's
you can
right.
do about it. It was in the past, but now it's time to rebuild and, you know, go forward. So leave the past in the past with forgiveness and with love, and you'll be able to go through. And then second point,
good one. Yeah.
Is to be able to build yourself, is to make the decision that you want to rebuild yourself in a way. In fact, it could probably have come as the first point, but you know, you have to decide from now on what you need to do, whether you're going to continue to hold on to the past, or whether you want to build a life that no longer, you know, attached to this past event. Because often decision is the first step to anything, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
What's
So I'm just thinking, what's going through my mind is that, do we somehow think we're getting, by hanging on to these things and going through it, do we somehow think we're getting these people back because we're just reliving it through in our own heads? Do we feel we're getting a person, we're getting equal with them, or we're still giving them a hard time? But we're not. It's all just in our heads, isn't it? It's not affecting them at all.
But you're right in a way, and I'm glad you brought this up. There's always a secondary gain for us to be continuously in this space or headspace to hold on to it. And like I said before, the reason we are holding on to it, because that's how we have grown up. That's how we've always known it to be. And our brain is trying to keep us safe in that familiar situation, because the unfamiliar situation, whatever that looks like, even if it were easy, something unfamiliar will put you into the fear state. And when you're in the fear state, your brain will try and pull you back. And it's just about, what if I get rejected again? And so I'm going to keep holding on to the rejection from before. Therefore, I'm not going to put myself out there. So it's kind of, there's always a secondary gain if we keep safe by
so this is about a decision to step away from that and to make a conscious decision to rebuild.
And I get that it isn't easy, and as we spoke about at the beginning, it's going to take time. This isn't a magic pill that you're going to all of a sudden wake up and it's like, oh yeah, I'm over it now, and that sort of thing. Yes, because your brain will continue to bring you back to the fear response. But now you know better. Now you get to choose your thoughts and the thoughts you focus on, and the actions as a result that you take. So once you make that decision, I'm no longer letting this rule my life. It's a whole different energy and whole different way of approaching this whole subject, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
I like it. New energy. That's a good picture. Yeah.
You forgive the past. You've made a decision that you no longer are holding on to this, and you're going forward. And as I said, it's going to take time. So what is the next step? Take the leap into whatever you want to do, little by little, in order not to put your brain back into that fear response.
Right.
So, push your comfort zone little by little every day in some way. And maybe this is also one of my coaches was saying, that the more no's you get, the quicker you will get a yes from somebody. So it's not even a rejection anymore. It's a kind of opening up space for what needs to be here. So perhaps all that rejection, all that time in the past allowed you to be able to be here right now as you are, with all the experiences, all the wisdom, and all the you know, everything that you've got as a person.
Hmm.
And now you're bringing even more richness to your life going forward. So when you make that decision, you can take that leap, and it doesn't matter if somebody says no, because your intention now is to go forward with this. And if somebody says no, because you're in your power now, it
Hmm.
doesn't even matter. It's
Mm.
fine. And
Mm.
one of the great
Great.
metaphors and great examples for this is that you know, if you're, let's say, stuck in a cave or somewhere, and there's 10 people in there, and you are the only person with a big torch or a big lamp who leads the way, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to convince anyone to come with you if they want to get out of the cave. All you have to say is, I know the way, I have the light, who's with me, who's coming,
Hmm.
you know?
Mm.
So you make the decision that you're going forward with the power that you have. You no longer are attached to the past or the rejection. It doesn't matter if anybody rejects, because they're only rejecting themselves. They're only projecting what's inside of them. You don't need to worry about that anymore. All you
Mm.
have to do is focus on the future, focus on what you're creating. And that's the best way to create anything that we want in our life, as we've spoken many times before.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And a lot of these things come full circle back round. It is repetition, but it's, you know, it's all repetition of good stuff. And you know, the fact we need to keep repeating in the same way we need to keep eating and breathing. I can't say, well, it's fine, I breathed an hour ago, I don't need to worry about breathing now.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I ate yesterday, I don't need to eat anymore. You know, that's it, I'm done now, tick the box.
Exactly.
It's a continuous ongoing thing, isn't it?
It
And
is, and it
it's,
is because we've lived our life in a certain way until now, and that's kind of ingrained in our brain to be in that
yeah,
certain way. And if
yeah,
we want
yeah,
to change our life and change some things, and I don't mean this make a big humongous change in your life, but change some things in order to live a better life, make your life easier,
yeah.
then you've got to start to practice different things than what you have been practicing. And this is the kind of change in mindset and mastery that we've been talking about. That's where it comes in. So
Mm.
yes, we will need to repeat, because the repetition is all mother of learning, and that's how our children learn. That's how we've learned when we were children.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
even harder for adults, because we have to unlearn some of the things that we've learned before in order
Yes.
to replace it with the new things that we are learning. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I could fire a whole new hour of conversation with this thought, but you know,
Okay.
maybe we can learn from our children.
Oh yeah.
There's
Definitely
a
a lot.
minefield of discussion
Oh,
there,
there
isn't
is,
there?
isn't there?
You know, because parents typically, we teach our children, we don't learn
Mm.
from them, we teach them. But wow, if we were to step back and kind of learn from our children in a way, you know,
Oh yeah.
those whose learning is at its highest. I mustn't start another topic here
So
at this stage
maybe
because we're
we can.
about done for today. But
I think we are. Next week or in the coming weeks, why don't we talk about that? What can we
there you
learn
go.
from our
Yeah, why
children?
not?
That's an amazing topic, and exactly, there's so much I can say about that as well.
Yeah, yeah. But we can, you know, we can learn, we can evolve, we can change, we can make decisions. I think that's kind of what we've been really focusing on today, isn't it,
Absolutely,
Sheila?
we have, and if any of this has resonated with you, and you are ready and brave enough to take that next step, book a call, and we will put the call link in the bottom of this video and the podcast notes if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else. But yeah, come and take that next step. It's a lot easier when somebody's on your side. And if you're not that ready yet, then continue listening, because we are going to be here every week. And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos. Have a wonderful week.